The whole of this game is greater than the sum of its parts. In observation of spooky season, let's review a player spooky game! Dracula vs. Van Helsing is a card-driven area control game for 2 players. No solo mode, and certainly no third wheels. One player will assume the role as Dracula. Dracula has 2 win conditions. They can either win by turning all 4 of the humans in one region into vampires, or just surviving the 5 rounds of the game. Now, the other player, who assumes the role as Van Helsing, their goal is to simply do 12 damage to Dracula, killing them before the end of the 5th round. Setup is quite simple. Just throw the board in the middle, place 4 people tokens, human side up, in each of the 5 regions, and shuffle these 32 cards? They're kind of more like tiles. They're quite thick. Kind of nice, kind of not. Kind of strange. And these card tile thingies, they come in 4 different flavors, or suits if you will, and they range in value from 1 to 8. At the beginning of each round, players will load up their card holders with cards, working from left to right, not changing the order in the cards. They just put them on there in the order that they draw them. Each player will draw 5 cards, and there are 5 regions on the board. Each card position will correspond to a location on the map. For instance, this leftmost card for me, or my opponent's rightmost card, will correspond to Area 5. And then the opposite, my rightmost card and my opponent's leftmost card will correspond to Area 1. And I'm sure you can fill in the gaps in between. During the game, players will be simply drawing 1 card and then choosing one of their cards to discard. So I might draw this card, I might choose to discard this card here. And the goal is to have the highest card in each region. Review copy provided by the amazing people at 25th Century Games, and Marcy May thinks you should click the subscribe button because she gets a treat for every new subscriber. Let me draw your attention over here to the color ranking board. There will be 1 color or suit that is trump. So if a player has that color wins that area. Now, if both players have trump colors, then the higher of the 2 cards wins that location. And should neither of the cards be the trump color, then it's just the highest number card wins that area. Now, if both players happen to have a card of the same value in that region, then you consult this color board here, and whichever color is higher to the top is the tiebreaker. So if the board state was like this and both players played a matching card and neither of them were yellow, the trump suit, the red would be the highest value, then the purple would be the next highest value, and then teal, or blue, or green. I don't know what color that's. Now play will continue like this back and forth, starting with the Dracula player always going first. Dracula always goes first in this game until one player decides to stop the round. Now you can't stop the round until there's at least 6 cards in the discard pile, but once there are, either player can choose to stop instead of taking their turn. They can just say, let's stop the round, then their opponent gets 1 more turn, then you resolve the 5 different areas, starting with the area closest to this crow weather vane thing. So let's take a look at how that resolves. My area 1 card was a yellow 8. And my opponent's was a red 8. They are tied, however my color was the trump suit. So me being Dr. Acula, I have turned one of these villagers into a vampire. Then the next space, I have a purple 3, my opponent has a yellow 6. They had a trump suit, so they hit me. I return one of my life markers to the box. Area 3, I have a red 6, my opponent has a teal 7. Their number is higher than mine, I take another wound. Here at Area 4, I have a red 5, my opponent has a purple 5. Now we tied on the value of the cards, so then we consult the color board here. Red is stronger than purple, so I win, so I turn another one of these villagers into a vampire. Then the 5th round, I have a red 4, my opponent has a yellow 2, that number's lower, but again, it is the trump color. They deal another wound to Dr. Dracula. Simply rinse and repeat, advancing the little track marker, 1 space forward, and play continues until one of the players meets their win condition. And at this point, I know what you're thinking, Beard, this game just doesn't seem like very much fun. Very much fun. Beard, there doesn't really seem to be many decisions or agency made with this gameplay. And I will tell you, you are incorrect. Because when you discard each card gives you a special ability. Let's go over what those special abilities are. When a player discards a 1, they must reveal one of their cards and lay it face up between the 2 players in its corresponding region. And that card will remain face up until it is discarded, showing your opponent some of the goods. When a player discards a 2, they reveal the top card of the draw deck. I find that to be just kind of rude. When a player discards a 3, they get to choose one of the opponent's cards, and that opponent has to reveal it. When you discard a 4, that allows you to swap the position of 2 of your cards. And that can come in handy. Say that there's one specific location that you cannot afford to lose at. You can use this to put a big card in that location. And when you discard a 5, you get to take another turn. Totally sweet. Discard a 6, that allows you to switch cards with your opponent. You do have to choose one location and you switch the same location with your opponent. Discarding the 7 allows you to swap 2 of the colored discs on the color board. Super powerful, especially right before someone ends the round. Discard an 8, you immediately end the round. The other player does not get a chance to take another turn. However, you cannot discard an 8 unless there are 6 cards in the discard pile. But it's actually quite a vicious way to end the round. Plus, that guy kind of looks like my Uncle Ray. And that is Dracula versus Van Helsing in a nutshell. So this is going to be an overwhelmingly positive review. So with that being said, let's get the stuff that sucks out of the way right out the gate. There is no player aid. Not a big deal after you've played the game once or twice. However, kind of sucks the first time you play it that, you can just turn the rulebook open to page 6 or 7. It clearly states what all of the special powers are. However, it would have been really nice to have at least 1 player aid, preferably 2 player aids. I don't know why they didn't come with any player aids. Kind of strange. The cards are fine. I've come to like the tiles. This is kind of a mixed bag. At first, our tiles seemed like they were kind of staticky, and they were not only difficult to shuffle, but whenever somebody would draw a tile, it would always take the next tile with it, and we were constantly getting tiles stuck together. But after like our 3rd or 4th game, I think maybe the oils from our hands or something begin to keep the tiles from sticking together. However, the tiles still look great and they have wore very well. So maybe I am a fan of the tiles. I don't know. I think a nice linen finish card would have been perfectly fine. The layout of the board is not confusing at all. There are clearly the 5 different sections. However, it seems like if they were clear columns, that may have been easier for new players. And we have actually played some games where we just lined the people up in 5 columns because it was just easier to see at a glance. However, it's not really an issue. They just kind of went for fashion over function. And while it's not a huge difference, but our experience, we have noticed Dracula winning a little more than half of the time. Merely an observation, but it seems like Dracula's win condition might be just a touch easier. Now that stuff is out of the way, I absolutely adore this game. I love, except for the things that were just mentioned, everything about it. It's easy to teach, the rulebook is nice and clear. I adore the art and overall aesthetic of the game. I think it looks fantastic. All the little touches too. None of the cards are exactly the same. Yes, they have like the same character on all the 2s. However, each 2 card has a slight variation in the artwork. Same thing with the people tokens. Every one of them is different, and then you flip it over, it's a picture of that character but is a vampire. The art on the board is nice, and the little wooden boat is pretty cool. The heart tokens for Dracula's HP are fine. Little red hearts or cubes would have been maybe nice, but the game is a very interesting and fun tug of war for 2 players. You're fighting over those 5 different positions, and the abilities on the cards are so interesting when you put all of it together. I feel like this game, the whole of this game, is greater than the sum of its parts. You put all these tiny little things together and you have an absolutely top-notch 2-player game. One of my favorite 2-player games at the moment. I was a huge fan of Jekyll vs. Hyde and beer and bread. I feel like this one almost flows easier and is easier to teach, still very satisfying. And the gosh darn box even has an adorable little coffin inside it. But the card holders are nice. They're big chunky boys. I don't think we've ever had them fall over and reveal your cards to another player. But back to the strategy in this game. There is a lot of bluffing and kind of strategy that goes along with it. And the 7 card that allows you to change the disc on the color board, that is so huge. It's a very valid strategy to try to collect a bunch of one card, use that to switch that color card to be the trump card. However, you got to be careful though, because if you were to end the round, remember your opponent gets one more try. So maybe you just want to hold on to that 7 and let them do their thing in hopes that they call to end the round, and then you'll get one more turn, and then you can use that to swap the colors in your favor on the color board. However, what if they end the round with the 8? The 8 is a very valuable card, maybe even more valuable, because the 8 ends the round immediately. It does not give your opponent one last turn. It just, that's it, you resolve them. And the other cards being able to switch the position of your cards, because it's really interesting that you have those 5 different slots, so you might start losing a bunch of humans in one slot, and you're like, holy cow, Dracula only needs to kill one more person in that slot, so I better double down on that slot. But then it's kind of funny because Dracula's sitting at the other side of the table, and he's thinking, well, I have a yellow 7. Yellow's currently trump right now. There's only one card, a yellow 8, that can beat this card. I might go ahead and try to end the round early. And, you would discard an 8 to end the round early. And lo and behold, Van Helsing, that son of a gun, he did have that yellow 8. He had a 1 out of 32 chance. Not that this exact scenario has happened to me. It has. But he ended up wounding Dracula. Final wounds. And didn't get the win. It's such a good game. But the game is a little mean. It is non-stop conflict with the person sitting across from you. An absolute top-notch 2-player game. 100% staying in my collection. Thrilled to play this game with anyone at any time. I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5. Absolutely love this game. Even despite a couple little flaws, it is still an absolute banger. A must-have. Check that one out. Dracula versus Van Helsing. Amazing, fabulous game. The best game.